So here it is, the race I've been training for 3 months. That's 12 weeks of the most training I've ever done under the guidance of a coach for one event. And this is the Trex race on the sunny coast, the off-road triathlon. And away we go. So all men went off together. There was probably about 60 of us. And you can see there's a couple of weeds and reeds and whatnot floating around, so you had to kind of find your way through. I'm on the left-hand side. Sorry, no, I'm not. I'm on the right-hand side here, going between those two bundles of reeds there. And this is the race I had a bit of a freak out over a year ago, and it almost happened again. So I'm sort of just below the drone now as I come forward. I've got a blue top. It's hard to tell. I can see me. And what happened was I swallowed a bit of water, but I didn't freak out. I didn't have a panic attack. What I did was I just lifted my head up for maybe 10 strokes and got some air in and kept moving, kept swimming, and just a bit of self-talk and said, "You'll be right," and put my head back down and got into it. And I then actually found my rhythm and had a pretty good swim. So this is fast forwarded coming around for the second lap. So it's 1,500 metre swim, so 2 by 750 metre swim laps. And here we come through. So I think I was probably around about, I don't know, let's say 15th or something like that. Here I come now. And fairly happy with the swim apart from that little freak out. But, you know, shit happens. I'm okay with it. I stayed calm and ended up having a pretty good swim. So out for the second lap. And that is the end of it. So what I decided whilst I was swimming was I wasn't going to put my socks on for the bike. Initially I was going to, but as I was swimming I made the decision that have a fast transition because the traffic builds really quickly on the bike. You go into single track and you can't overtake. And it paid off. It was the correct thing to do. So I just raced into transition, threw my shoes on and my helmet, and off I went. Just jumped straight on the bike and took off.
So I wish I got his transition. I was too busy having to run around the outside to get him getting on the bike. He probably passed like 10 people in transition. It was super quick. So that got him out on the bike leg right near the front. So he's in a good position at the moment.
So as you heard there, I had a super quick transition. Probably, I don't know the actual place. Let's say 15th after the swim, and Amanda reckon I got out onto the bike in about 5th position. So this young guy here, this Waters in the Australian outfit, younger guy, I reckon he was the 20 to 30 sort of age group. Him and I had a bit of a battle in the first lap, and I overtook him, and I actually went a bit into the red here. I started pushing a bit hard. I got a bit excited and I kept thinking to myself, hang on, you got 3 laps of this. So it's 3 10K laps, making up 30K. So this Waters guy overtook me again. Now, every corner he was sliding out. And at some point I said, mate, what's going on into those corners? And he said, I've got 40 PSI in my tyres. If you don't mountain bike, that's a lot of pressure. He reckons he couldn't seal his tyres. He's tubeless, so he just pumped the hell out of them to make them seal. So he was a young, fit guy, and I was pretty happy to be sitting on him. This is the single track, and as you can see, not a lot of opportunity to overtake here. So as I said earlier, it's 3 by 10K laps, and it's a real peddler's lap. There's not a lot of opportunities to freewheel, and it's not super steep either. There's not really any crazy climbs. Now this is Ben who won the Open, the elite race, and as you can see, he washed out there. He absolutely annihilated the course. That was him almost falling over, but he saved it. And here I come into the same corner. Now I've ridden this course so many times, so I knew to take it a bit easy through that corner. And I did change my front tyre just before this race because we went out the week before and did some training and I was slipping all over the place. I put the new Maxxis Forecaster on the front, which is a super grippy tyre, and I tell you what an amazing idea I had because it was brilliant. In fact, my bike setup was just brilliant. I was mucking around with it the day before, mucking around with my suspension and how much pressure to put in it, and I just nailed it. The bike just performed superbly. So this is the second lap, And I'm kind of in my rhythm now. The first lap, you always get a little bit excited. So that Waters guy in the first lap, he washed out finally in one of the corners and I never saw him again. So this is the fire trail coming out of the transition area. And then we turn back into single track. So fast forward coming through to the transition area. So this is coming around the end of my second lap. 1 lap to go. So you come through this grass area. Yeah, there's Ben again. Ben being the first elite. So as I said, he destroyed the race. He won overall by a long shot. So I think this is the second lap. So I'm out here, one of the few climbs in it. And this guy ahead of me, him and I ended up riding about a lap and a half together. And this is probably the more technical part of the whole course. There's a bit of a rock garden. A few people come unstuck here. There was always someone just kind of, as you can see, not being able to get over the rocks. So you had to find your way around them. We hope you like our channel. We love bringing the content to you. How about you shout us a coffee? Link below. So that guy got a little bit ahead of me. Here's this rock garden. Someone else came undone, but they move aside because I had to slow for that traffic. But when I finally got back on his wheel, I just stayed there. I feel a bit bad sometimes. You know, these people are trying to race too and they're constantly moving out of the way. So I try to be polite. And good on them for moving over. It must be frustrating for them. Now on the bike, I just felt fantastic. I really did. After that first lap where I went a bit deep, I settled right down. And when I got on this guy's wheel, I actually was doing it quite easy, I'll be honest. The third lap particularly, I felt was my easiest.
Tim, throw your bottle. Tim, I'm here. Throw your bottle and get it here.
So third lap, getting my spare bottle that Amanda's holding.
You're looking great. How are you feeling?
So I went through 3 600ml bottles in this race. 1 full of Infinite, my nutrition, and 2 of water. So I grabbed another one of water for the third lap. So here's this guy again. And at one point I thought I'm going to overtake him because I am doing it pretty easy here. But then I thought, wait on, you got a 10.5k run to do yet. So just sit here. We were moving fairly quickly. He was a good rider. And as I said, I was feeling really comfortable. It was quite enjoyable because my heart rate wasn't too high and I thought this is going to be perfect for setting up the run. You can see how twisty it is. There's tree roots and it's quite sandy. Some switchbacks. This is an off-camber switchback. We're actually going uphill in this bit of single track. But again, sitting really nicely on this guy. We rode really similarly. And I was really happy for him to be there. A couple of times he tried to wave me through and I went, no, I'm good here. So here we come after the end of the third lap and the completion of the bike leg. So back into transition. So I kept my shoes on to run into transition. Quick dismount. And in we go. Now, because I didn't put my socks on for the bike, I now have to put them on for the run. And I raced here a while back and didn't put socks on. I absolutely ripped my feet to pieces. So it's worth putting the socks on to save your feet, but you do sacrifice a little bit of time doing that. So you're always wondering, is it worth doing? As you can see, there's not too many bikes in transition, so I'm well placed. Most of the guys ahead of me are the young boys, so I'm okay with that. And here's a bit of real time of my transition. So I sat down, cycling shoes off, and I find if you try to rush, you're just going to bugger it up. So you really have to try to control yourself and stay slow, if that makes sense. So socks on with my running shoes. I've got my trail shoes, and they've got elastic laces in them. But even still, the tongue can get caught in your shoes. You've got to make sure you pull that up. But there's a bit of time here. So again, the sacrifice you make to put socks on. and ready to run out, and whoops, forgot my number. You must have your number on, so grab that and away we go. So I also had to grab some nutrition. So you got to remember all these things when you're in transition, and off I go for the run. Now the run is 3 by 3.5K laps, and I didn't take a GoPro, but it's a pretty gnarly lap. There's lots of logs to jump over, and every time I went to jump a log, I felt like my hamstring was going to cramp. So I ended up, instead of jumping over it, just jumping 1 foot onto it, and that seemed to save me. And there goes Ben again, the overall winner. He's absolutely nailing it. So this is coming in after the first lap. Back down into transition, and around you go again for the second lap. So again, not too hilly, but twisty, windy, logs, tree roots, little creeks. It's got everything. So you really have to concentrate on the run. I did end up rolling an ankle a little bit, and at the same time I cramped. So there's my mate Mark, who overtook me. Now he's only doing the sprint. Had to say that, Mark. So he only had to do 1 lap, so he was absolutely smashing it. This was my second lap, I think, so I still had 1 lap to go, so I was happy for him to overtake me. He's a fit bloke, he's my age group, and he won the sprint in his age group, so good on you, Mark. Hate watching myself run, always looks awkward and slow, but having said that, I ran 5:01 pace, so 5 minutes 1 second per kilometre on this off-road course for 10.5 kilometres. So that was actually my goal, and I'm super, super stoked that I pulled that off. And here I come through to the finish. So I annihilated my age group. Second place in the 50 plus was like 12 minutes behind me. So this coach thing, tell you what, it works. I've never felt better.
Tim Whitburn, well done to you, sir.
Apart from that small freak out in the swim, it was the perfect race.
About 20 years ago, it was Tim's idea to start treks. Everybody, a big round of applause for Tim. Well done for finishing, but also starting treks.
Oh, very, yeah. So, absolutely one of my best races in 27 years of triathlon, and I will be continuing with a coach from here on. So, presentation, there I was in first place. And over 50s, the fastest overall. And I think I was somewhere maybe 11th overall for the whole race. So again, pretty stoked. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for racing with me, and I'll catch you next time.